Okay.
Yeah, you were saying that the article had lived for 400 years, and now
More or less. I'm not saying it's dead by any means.
Yeah.
I'm saying that that there are other ways to tell stories than narrative text.
Yeah.
And certainly there's a place for articles. I mean, I think that if you had asked me a decade ago whether I would still be reading text on a screen when I use the web, I would have said no. Everything is going to be video. But the fact that I'm still reading most of the time that I spend on the web is reading text says to me that text is enduring and a very important part of the whole media.
But the article will be a part of a bigger universe.
Absolutely.
That you are describing.
Yes.
Yeah. And what
Right.
does this universe consist of, except for articles?
Well, I think it consists of a lot of things, a lot of tools, in fact, that maybe haven't even been invented yet.
Yeah.
But certainly, we're looking at timelines and maps and charts and graphs and tables and stories told through photo galleries. One of the slides that I was going to show, if I could have gotten online, was a story, sort of a chronology of Hillary Clinton's campaign told as a photo gallery. So you're looking at, you start with when she announces, and then you're looking at pictures throughout the campaign. And I think it's a very compelling way to tell a story.
And maps and clouds or tags.
Maps and clouds,
Yeah.
tag clouds. I'm a big fan of tag clouds,
Yeah.
and I have to say that their utility is pretty limited, but every now and then they're kind of fun.
Yeah. And would you say that like the design of the media's websites today, can they handle this kind of or the logic?
Right. Probably not. I mean, they
do you
can.
think they will look different in the future?
I think they will look somewhat different.
Yeah.
I'm not sure that the look is going to be, well, I'm sure someday the look will be substantially different. But
Yeah.
I think we've actually hit upon something that sort of works editorially. Whether it works for advertisers is a completely different topic. I'm not qualified to assess. But I think that there's, people have gotten pretty used to the idea that, blogs are really, really long and you scroll a lot. And maybe it's not the most, the best way of displaying the information. Having YouTube videos inline in blog posts is not the most compelling way to present video. But it works, and people are used to it. And the power of that sort of inertia is pretty strong. And I don't know if we're going to change it significantly in the near future.
Yeah. And what do you see? What do you see as how now we can develop those kind of things with your background?
Well, my background is as a journalist,
Yeah.
and so I rely on people who understand technology far better than I do to actually build the tools. I'm happy to use them. I'm happy to I would love to be able to work with technologists to build those tools.
But what is there? Where do you think we will see the most development in the coming years? Which kind of narratives or functions?
Well, I think you will see development in structured data of the kind that I showed with the homicide map, because it's the kind of information that journalists have been collecting for a long time.
We could maybe say what the homicide map is.
Okay,
Yeah.
The homicide map is is something we created at the LA Times to take a wealth of stories that were being written about homicide victims in LA County and to aggregate them in some way in a geographic and demographic sense, so that people could see where these homicides took place and who the victims were.
Yeah, and it was also like you could filter it to see
Right.
trends, and also that the relatives and friends were there and
were able to comment on the blog posts related to these people. So we got a lot of very moving comments from friends and loved ones.
Yeah.
These are the kinds of things that this structured. I mean, it's not entirely structured data, but it starts out with structured data. That's the kind of thing that I imagine we'll see more of, because journalists, in the course of their work, have always collected a lot of this kind of data. And writing a story, actually, homicide is is not a good example, because in many cases a story is appropriate, and it is a good way to tell about the extinguishing of a life. But there's a lot of data that really doesn't lend itself to stories. It's just data. It's just facts and figures. And if we can do it, and we can show people the trends in the data without having to write this story around it, that's kind of cool to me.
So as soon as you have the data, there are lots of things you can use it for,
sure.
And you don't even know now what you can use it for in the future.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, to give an example of a story that shouldn't exist, or an article that shouldn't exist. Somebody, there's a new report out that says that Los Angeles, I'm making this up, Los Angeles is ranked, third in the country in air pollution, right? In terms of major cities, and the story says, Los Angeles is ranked third, and gets comment from government officials, and it says, last year we were ranked second, so this is actually an improvement. But nowhere in the story does it actually show me all 50 top ranked cities and the worst in air pollution. And that's the kind of thing that I, as a reader, I'm kind of interested in. So why not dispense with the whole story and just give me the list? Maybe there's some context that you want to build around it, and that's fine. But to write it in a paragraph form is maybe not necessary.
Maybe you could have an image gallery with polluted areas.
Yes. So each city gets a slide and a photo gallery.
And now when we talked both about the homicide and the dog, it was not obvious if this is data that is collected and then used, or is it data that is continuously updated?
Right. Yeah. So the dog database is a sort of a one-time thing. It was a fun project. It was not something that we're seriously planning on updating. Homicides is supposedly updated. The reason I say supposedly is that I think the Metro staff has been unable to keep up with it recently. So it's been put on hiatus, but the goal is to return to it and start it up again. But some of the other projects, for example, we have a database project on schools, so school report cards showing how well schools are doing in different measures of quality. That database is being updated every time new data comes out.
But the ideal would be to have that process automatically or semi-automatically.
Yes, absolutely. The more automated you can make it, the better.
Yeah. Is that happening?
Anytime there's an update, it's a fairly manual process still at this point. But I think it as we develop the competencies around this, it'll get easier, and we'll be able to do it faster and without as much human intervention. Some of the databases that have been created are basically done by scraping websites, government websites. So every time the government updates their website, the program automatically scrapes that data and dumps it into our database, and so that's the kind of thing that doesn't actually require any manual effort.
And it's not only that this data is used to show out in a different way, it's also used to make classical stories most of the times, that you could use this
Absolutely.
data.
Yeah. There are a lot of databases that or stories that start out as databases.
Yeah.
You look at. What was a good example? The dogs database is actually a good example. We did a couple of stories on how where are the Chihuahuas in LA, or what's the most popular breed, or what's the most popular name. Silly stories, right? But there's also some really interesting stories. For example, when the school database launched, we found, or one of our developers actually found some discrepancies in the data. It looked like maybe the Department of Education was not exactly correctly counting some of the school scores that resulted in schools looking like they were doing better than they actually were, and that created a story that was pretty good.
But if we go back to the dog thing, Could you also see like there are possibilities to develop it also to get user-generated content? Like you said, it's dogs divided into post
Yes.
area. They could like upload their
pictures of
own
mine.
dogs
Yes.
and.
We talked about that, and actually we did for the most common breeds in
Yeah.
Los Angeles. We set up photo galleries.
Yeah.
So for the 10 most common breeds, there's a photo gallery on the website where you can upload a picture of your German Shepherd
Yeah.
to LATimes.com and compare your German Shepherd with all the other German Shepherds. Yes.
Yeah. Is there anything else? No.
Not that I can think of.
Yeah. Thank you very much.
Yes, you're quite welcome. That's cool.
Sure.
When will you post?